Welcome to Women in the Mafia with Lisa and Staxx. I'm Bill Staxx.
I'm Lisa Lumine.
Did you hear anything about her husband after she got
Yeah,
killed?
so and he does this really bizarre interview. So he does this interview where he basically says something along the lines of like, today I've lost the most wonderful, amazing wife a man can have. And like my first thing with that is like, how can you say that because she was out with other guys? You know what I mean? So
While
maybe
she got
he's just trying
killed.
to, yes. And so like maybe he was trying to save face for their 13-year-old kid and trying to, hey, she was a great mother, whatever. So, but after that, he kind of falls off the radar. I know that he was, questioned a few more times and, nothing ever comes of it. There's no suspects. The 14-year-old kids that actually witnessed the shooting, they give a description of the car. They give a description of two well-dressed guys jumping out of the car and getting into another getaway vehicle, which explains how they were able to get out of there as quickly as they were. And that's that. It's over. It's done. And she's laid to rest. Little Augie's laid to rest. And that's that,
So
So I
Augie,
honestly,
do you know how old Augie was when he was killed? Because he
so
looks
he
like an
was,
old man.
yeah. So I think she was in her early 30s. I think she was 33, 32 or 33. And he is in his early 60s. I think he's 63 or 64 at the time. Because in a lot of the newspaper things, they make a big deal about, the age difference with them both. They're like, he was, whatever years her senior. So, the implication being made again that, it's kind of her fault what happened because she was hanging with the underworld guys. Also, like, I wonder why this chick, just being a girl myself, why wouldn't she like stop hanging out with mafia guys? Like, I would. I don't know. After the first guy got off, I would be like, you know what? That's it for me. I'm good. But then I wondered to myself, is it something to where she could not get out and had to make
Or
herself
she knew too
available?
much. Or
Because
she
she
knew
knew too
too much.
much. And like, maybe it was one of those scenarios where it's like, let me just keep these guys happy so that nothing happens. And unfortunately, it came back and bit her in the ass regardless, So
Well,
interesting book.
Albert Anastasia was the type of guy to sit
Yeah.
there and watch the TV, and
Yep.
he seen a guy telling on another guy on TV, and he had him killed
Yeah.
for
Oh,
it.
he was
But
so
like
crazy. So
that's
crazy.
the type
Yeah.
of stuff that they would do back then.
She was definitely buried, and I was looking on Find a Grave too. I couldn't find her gravestone, so I wonder if that's it. I also wonder whatever happened to her 13-year-old son. What a stigma to grow up with, And unfortunately, that's the thing is like, a lot of these people that are families of these victims end up being collateral damage along with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
Like,
they
how
end
did
up
the
dealing with it for years.
for
The
years?
repercussions, the aftermath of getting murdered in the street,
Yeah,
and
100%. Yeah,
yeah, if
not
the
worth it to
family's
be a
out
mom,
there
though.
and if the family's out there and they want to tell the story, you're welcome to come on the show. And so, you want to tell the people what we have planned for the future of this show?
Yeah. So like, you and I were talking and we love going down that rabbit hole of like, the mafia women, the women connected with the mafia, and there's always two sides to every story. And for me, I always feel like we give a voice to those who have no voice any longer. And, these women are ultimately forgotten, like think about a movie like Goodfellas, where we have somebody like Karen Hill, who was just, basically a co-star to the movie of Frank Hill's life. But to me, she
There's a
was
lot of
so much
secrets.
more. There's so
There's a
much
lot
more
of
to it.
secrets that we're going to be
Right.
dropping with this show that people
Right.
don't know about
And
Karen,
there,
about
there are
this.
so many about women that were involved. And to me, they're almost like the heartbeat of the mafia, because these women, without these women, these men, would not have been as operational, let's say, because they needed these women in ways to help them, be men, I suppose. So, you can't have these stories without having these guys ultimately hooking up with these girls, and these scenarios that don't turn out well, like in the case of Janice Drake, or let's say Karen Hill, or your girl from a casino. I was just looking up the true story about her, the real Ginger. You know what I mean? That's a
Yeah.
fascinating story to me. And again, look at how forgotten she is. We all know about Lefty, but we know nothing really about her except for the way she's portrayed in the film. And often I've seen that and I thought, I don't know if that's quite so fair, because she's not around to tell her side of the story. And I guarantee Lefty was not the easiest guy to be married to. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that the affair with your boy
Probably
was
not.
right. But I'm just going to tell you right now, any of these guys being married to them, dating them, that couldn't have been easy at all. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm all about these mafia girls that basically, not only survived it or, basically thrived in it, but some of them ultimately really were, pivotal in helping some of these guys make decisions, stay
Like Nancy
calm.
Spilatro,
Yes.
Spilatro's wife. Shout out to Spilatro's son, man. I appreciate
Right,
all the
right.
information that you give me, and we got a lot of stuff to bring you. And you could give the female aspect of the stories that we're doing, and I could give the male aspect, and
Yeah,
that's
I love it,
that's
man. I
the
love it. See, like today, look what we did for Janice Drake. This girl is basically just a bump on the radar of little Augie's story. And to me, she's almost forgotten in translation. So I feel like today, it's like here we are talking about her and, bringing her up. And it's like we give her a voice. You know what I mean? We're
yeah.
remembering her and who she was. She wasn't just this, underworld doll that was, caught up in something. She actually was a mother. She actually was, with other guys who got killed. So she was a somebody within the mob. You know what I mean? And I find that a fascinating story because look, they did not just, socialize with anybody, these guys. So obviously they chose her for a reason, probably due to her beauty, and whatever else. But again, collateral damage, some may say. I think there's a lot more to these stories. You know what I mean? And I want to know all about it. I really do. There's
Definitely.
this really cool book out there called Mob Girls by Arlene Weiss, who was dating that guy. What was his name? They called him Adonis, I believe.
Yeah.
I can't get his.
Joe
Yes. Okay.
Joe
So
Adonis. Joe
yes.
Adonis.
So apparently she was like, this big mafia chick. And she has this like famous line. I'm not going to say it, but I told you the other day. I love it. I love it. Watching her YouTube interviews, she's, got a cigarette dangling out of her mouth and cleavage down to here. And she's just like, nobody has it like a wise guy. And I'm like, I love this broad. But she wrote this book and it's called, The Woman Who Basically, blew up the mafia. And she basically says at the end of this interview, look, I know I'm spilling secrets. I know I'm spilling tea. Come for me if you want. You know where I'm at. She's got bigger balls than most of those guys, and I'm here for it. I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're gonna bring them the best possible stories we can get. And
Yeah,
I
man.
found a picture of the girl you were talking about. Here's one of the pictures. This might be
She's my
Virginia
favorite.
Hill.
I
Is
think
this
that's Virginia
Virginia
Hill.
Hill?
Yeah, but that was
Yeah, probably.
actually her mentor and idol. She loved that girl. She would actually dress like her. And Virginia Hill, that's another one. Okay, so look at how she's portrayed. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, ultimately she most likely was responsible for having Lucky killed. But, again, here's another one. She was a savvy businesswoman, and all you have to do is look at that footage of her in court. Oh my God, she was a badass. I mean, she gives it
Cigarette.
to she gives it to that judge. I mean, I think there was like some line where he's like, "Would you say you're missing it or something like?" And she's like, "I was never missing it." I mean, she was so savvy. She was such a badass. I would not want to mess with her. Virginia Hill was like so cool. And look, it takes a special kind of somebody to survive men like that, especially in those times where we women didn't have any voice, no rights, no nothing. We were expected to be, pregnant, cooking in the kitchen, and that's that. So to me, the fact that she survived as long as she did, that's kind of fascinating. Unfortunately for Janice, it did not go so well.
No, she died at a young age too.
Yeah, like
Hopefully she
early
passed away.
30s, man, early 30s. But I have to say this, and it's going to sound terrible, but it's one of those things of like, she should have known. After the second guy got killed that she was with, I think after that, I would have, been busy that night. I'm just
And
saying.
Albert Anastasia was a
Of
high
all
profile
people, of
guy. Like
all people, I know. Now they have some fabulous. Wasn't she gorgeous though? I mean,
she
my
was really
God, that
pretty.
girl,
Yeah.
her the bathing suit picture, the legs. I mean, I could see why she got Miss Legs, New Jersey. You know what I mean? Beautiful girl, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, yeah, she was just hot as can be back in the day. I wonder like about the first wise guy who ever like came up to her and was like, "Hey, girl," and she was like, "Okay, this seems like a good thing." Like I always wonder how that. Yeah, he might have killed somebody, but I'm gonna go out on a date with him. You know what I mean? Like I always wonder about stuff like that.
I
So
think
yeah, she
they're
was.
probably just fascinated, just like how women are with
Yeah,
street guys now, or guys they
right.
think could save.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Tell me about it. They had a girl on TikTok recently, and she's sitting there talking about how she only dates guys in prison. And I was like, oh, honey, but yeah, I guess it takes all kinds. You know what I mean? But
Hey,
again,
right
a
when they
lot of
get out,
them.
things change.
Oh my God, haven't they seen Love After Lockup? Yeah, hello, it all changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was hilarious. But yeah, these women, they really do get lost in translation. And again, great example for me, Casino. I mean, that girl, she just is painted in this picture of just, this drug-addled, horrible mother, that was, having this affair and just, making his life miserable. And, I've always wondered, what was the true story of Ginger? Who was Ginger really? You know what I mean? Also, did you ever hear about how Ginger died? That will be our next story, because her death is fascinating. It is not like how it
No,
was
I
portrayed
haven't.
in the movie. Oh my God. Oh, that's going to be our next one. Look, I'm getting like visibly excited talking about it. But like, she was found dead at the Beverly Hills Hotel in the lobby after a mysterious meeting with one of Lefty's guys. So the rumor is she got a hot shot, but it could have been from Lefty. And I think at that
Wow.
point, he was so pissed at her. I think it's totally feasible, but it's weird because she was in a lobby of a freaking hotel. Yeah, it's so creepy. That's going to be our next one. I'm telling you. That's a great story right
Hey,
there.
I'm
She
down
was
to
a
do
fascinating character.
whatever
I
stories you
know.
want. There's a lot.
It,
There's a lot of them to go over. A lot.
yeah, and they're all fascinating. It seems to me if you were like a showgirl, an actress, a model, anything like that, the mafia was very into pretty girls. So, unfortunately, if they found you and you went out on a date with them and then you were in that circle, it was playing with fire. So it was just a matter of time, unless you were somebody who was savvy like Arlene Weiss, who then wrote a book and straight up was like, come
You
for
know
me if you
who
want
else I
to.
want to do a story on? Scarpa and Larry
Yeah.
Mazza. The girl
Yes.
with them. Oh man, that's us.
It's a
That'd
great
be fun.
one.
Yeah,
You got so many cool things to go over. Yeah, 100%.
definitely,
Yeah. Fascinating characters, right? I mean, they're not
definitely.
made like that anymore. They're not made like that anymore. Even the
No,
mafia guys themselves, I find them so, like, their characters are so fascinating to me because ultimately some of them were really, refined gentlemen who just happen to have underworld ties and do murder on the side. You know what I mean? Like, you
yeah.
have to respect that in some kind of odd way. You know what I mean? Like,
And they
some
all
of it
had
is so,
girlfriends. They all had wives
yeah.
and girlfriends on the side,
What is it? A
and
guma? A
Gumana,
guma?
Gumana,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they it was acceptable back then. They
Totally
would bring their
accepted. Yeah.
girlfriends to dinner, and everything was fine. They would serve them, and they'd have their wife there the next day. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, weird, totally weird. And sometimes the wives were fully aware of it and just like, hey, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here holding down the household. Go do what you got to do. You
Yep.
know, happy to be out of it. Because look at poor old Janice Drake and what happened to her, right?
Yeah. Hey, she
Some of the
winded up.
newspaper clippings are amazing about that murder too, because they're literally like, you could tell men have written them, and they're like, even though she was a mother and married, she was out that night. And it's like, well, maybe she was just catching dinner. I get it. I get it. It was the 50s, so eyebrow raised. But, the consensus is that she kind of got what she deserved for playing with, mafia guys. And a lot of those newspaper articles kind of reflect that too. And I'm
Well,
just
the
like,
name
man,
of
can a
this one
sister
is
catch a
going to
break?
be The Blonde Murder Jinx.
I
That's what I'll
like it,
name this one.
man. I
The
like it. And they're going to be
Blonde
like, is that
Murder.
Lisa? And I'll be like, no, it's not me. It's not me. I swear.
Well, I
I kind
appreciate
of,
you. And
man, this has been fun. I can't wait for the next one. Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna be banging them out, and people are gonna be quite surprised at
Killing it.
the little show that we're gonna accumulate. I think people are gonna like this show.
Well, I know a lot of useless information about mob guys. Don't ask me why. My mom had a lot of mafia books growing up, and I would sit and read them because I was just fascinated. Because they had the horrible pictures of like the guys in the black of the car with like their brains blown out, or like in the
Yeah,
diner,
sitting in the car
dead.
like,
Little Nicky so and so, got killed in Little Italy, and I remember like being like 10, reading these, going, "Holy shit!" So I was always fascinated by these, and I'm in New Orleans, so we have huge mafia connections here. So I would love to go down the rabbit hole with that one day.
hey,
So
yeah,
yeah,
we're gonna do
so
that
much stuff we can cover. Yeah. So yeah, come catch
definitely.
me and Bill Staxx over here, killing it.
You already know.
Yeah,
Lisa and Staxx, Women of the Mafia.
you know
Make
what
sure
it
you hit the
is.
like, subscribe, and notification bell so you can get our videos every time they drop. Do you want to give anyone a shout out before we go?
Just me for being fabulous.
And I appreciate you for taking the
No,
time.
I like to say my friend William Crooks with Partners at Crime podcast. He's
Yes.
awesome. So yeah, he's a big fan of yours, and so yeah, I'd like to say hi to
He's a
him because
great
he's one of
friend.
my
Great
faves.
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, William,
Oh,
what's
yeah.
up, man?
Hey, till next time. I
All
appreciate
right,
you.
man. It's been fun. Been real.
Definitely. Peace, everybody.